So girls training with guys. Something goes on.
Okay.
Hold on, Tobin.
Gals?
You it up already.
We already
I dropped the F-bomb right at the beginning.
We already have to have a battle of
Mom.
terminology.
Okay,
You already
I told Tobin it's not girls training with guys. Girls are to boys as gals are to guys. That's why we're saying gals training with guys. You just misspoke. It's okay. I'm not persecuting you. I had to clarify that because there's something about being called a girl that makes me feel like a child.
Okay.
When there's men.
When I refer, like if I say, what's up, girl? Or you guys say, what's up, boy, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think boy and girl sounds like children. Sometimes I might call my friend my girl, like that's my girl.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because it's kind of like it's okay for us to say it, but it's not okay for you to say it. It's one of those things for me, I just feel like I don't like to be referred to as a girl because I'm a 46-year-old woman. I birthed children and done all this stuff and whatever. And I prefer to be called a woman. That's my favorite thing to be called. If you were going to call me something, I am a woman. But if you want to use like a colloquial, like more, relaxed term, it's guys and gals, right?
What is it like doing an activity that's predominantly men as a woman?
Oh, I tried for so long back here to have different groups of women. From the time I was a white belt, I would get any woman I could to come practice with me. Just because I wanted to practice against somebody who was around my size, who wasn't, trying to maybe like be super aggressive. And also I got into competition and I wanted to be able to experience that training with other ladies so that I could practice on the actual type of body that I would have to do these techniques on. So I've always been seeking training with women, even though I've always trained with men. And I was so fortunate to have Cindy Omatsu, who did establish a group of ladies that I trained with at least 2 times a week for many, many years. I feel really fortunate to have had that. Not to say that, that it's necessary for everyone, but I felt like it was necessary for me. Because it can, this is something that comes up as a issue that I have, like a core issue, is I feel like I'm different. I am somehow different from all the other humans that exist. And therefore, I can't connect and I can't form true relationships with other people. That's very lonely and isolating thought. So
now I got a question, just a quick one. Do you feel that in almost every situation, every group you're in, like that
I'm somehow different.
You're somehow different.
Yes, I'm somehow different. And so you put me in this sport where it's always all guys all the time, and rarely there's another woman. That's how it was.
Especially
when
15, 20 years ago, yeah.
20 years ago, sometimes there would be one other woman. I am different, right? Yeah. And so it's kind of like reinforcing that. So I think that one of the things that I did was try to seek out, the women's training group with Cindy. I would try to get women to come train over here. It never really stuck. So I ended up, branching out and doing the fitness thing where it's usually all women there. Once in a while we have a dude. So it's kind of like trying to have balance. Like I feel like I need balance in my life. So I enjoy, I'm at a place now where I enjoy very much the men here, and I can have relationships with the men that come to the garage and stuff, and it feels good, it feels safe, everybody feels super cool and respectful. It hasn't always been the case, and it's still not the case.
Yep.
I feel disrespected on the regular in jiu-jitsu, even in the podcast, not from you guys.
The audience. Yes.
Not all of you. I mean, some of you are very supportive, and I love that. And some of you say that I'm constantly interrupting Chris, and I have an annoying voice.
It's amongst certain part of the population now. It's very politically incorrect to say things in general, like, well, men's groups are very, but I would like to say, with my arrogance, that I feel like I started the first women's jiu-jitsu class in the States. Not self-defense, but jiu-jitsu. Let them not get pink belts, let them get blue belts. Not the first women. There were other women who trained in Brazil, but
it was a woman's only class taught by a man, which I always don't understand, because that's not women's only.
Now, I started it, and I'm not saying my motives were entirely pure. I was single. What I really wanted was a relationship with a woman that loved jiu-jitsu, because when I get in these relationships with the girly girls, oh my God, are you going to go train again? It's like, yeah, that's what I do. Oh, can't. I wanted someone who wanted to do this, right? And I thought I would find them. And that was partially my reason. Cindy Omatsu and she wanted to help me, was a blue belt at the time, or maybe she just gotten her purple belt, and I was a brown belt. And one of the things I realized very early on, what they say like about clubs and bars, if you want to bring in a bunch of people, you get the women to come first. And I didn't want a bunch of people. I wanted just women. As soon as a bunch of women came, all of a sudden guys want to show up that time too. And it's like, oh, you're ruining it, because now it's scaring off this particular type of woman that probably needs jiu-jitsu. But then when there's a bunch of heavy breathing dudes waiting to roll with you, I'm sure that so yeah, it was. But anyways, I did begin that, and I gratefully turned that class over. Right?
Well, I don't really agree with men teaching women's classes. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think if it's the only option,
it's a mixed
but if
class,
you could
then,
take
yeah.
no, I'm saying women's classes.
Oh, just a woman's.
A woman's only class is a woman's only class.
Yeah.
There's not a man. If a man's teaching it, it's no longer women's only. And you know, I mean, a lot of people don't agree with women's only class because they think if you had a men's only class, then that would be offensive.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think it's important is because I think there's a lot more women out there with trauma around being touched, especially by men.
Yeah.
And that we've suffered from, you know, being put in situations against our will or whatever it was, that, you know, we need a safe space where we can come.
Not only that, but as women, you are the minority in this particular space.
That's correct.
So it doesn't make sense to have a men's only class because most classes are majority men anyway.
True.
So the women's class would be to bring an already minority group together to have a class or classes where they are the majority or the only people in the class.
Yes, and it's also like from experience doing this, I feel that there's a sense of empowerment. So I can't say that that's always been the case. I've been in groups where I've definitely felt like it was catty and cliquey, and I didn't feel as comfortable. But I've been in groups and taught classes where I felt like we could really hone in and address issues that women specifically have on the mat when training with men, with training with stronger people, larger people, what techniques work better, what techniques don't work at all, and how we could kind of troubleshoot that and make them feel more empowered and more confident when they do come in and train with men, and even how to use their voice if they need to, how to set boundaries, you know, because something will come up like I've heard or seen on Facebook or something, some girl's boob popped out of her shirt or someone touched her in a way that she didn't feel good about, you know, and those things happen, and how to navigate those types of issues. You're not going to get that advice from your male instructor. And if you do, he really needs to like step into his place. Like, I don't even want to go to a male gynecologist. I think that's weird.
I think that's weird too.
Right?
Yeah, I've always thought that was weird.
What are the things that are, is it just the size of the people for jiu-jitsu? Because I think one of the philosophical, spiritual things that people like about jiu-jitsu is it's like you get on the mat and then everything else sheds and you can all be together no matter where you're from, blah, 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 blah.
For some of you.
But is it just a size difference, or what's the primary, what are the things that are different about being on a mat with a bunch of women and being on the mat with a bunch of men from a woman's perspective?
Yeah, I think that we relate to each other differently. I think that there's a different type of camaraderie amongst us. I think like training with Cindy, and Chris would agree with me 100% on this, knowing Cindy, that it was very nurturing.
Yes.
A very nurturing environment. I don't know, like, do you guys feel like your environment is very nurturing? When I don't know what it's like to be a man. So it's a totally different. Like Cindy is like the mom. She's like, oh, hi, honey, like hugs and hugs. And I'm not like that. I wouldn't say that I am the most nurturing female. I think I kind of like, before jiu-jitsu and everything, I would prefer hanging out with men. Women were like, I didn't know how to relate to women. Relating to women was something I've had to learn how to do. I always felt like women are catty, they're this, they're that. You know, I would find some companions that I had, and it was kind of more about like partying and stuff. But forming like close relationships with women and bonds, it's different. There's a different way of relating to each other, and women roll differently. And Chris has talked about this before. It's like sometimes women, especially when they're new, they don't like bring it, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to put my weight on her. I'm going to smash her. I'm going to crush you. I'm too big. I'm so much bigger than you. I'm going to, like a larger woman would say that to me. And I'll be like, girl, I've been doing this forever. I can call her girl. Girl, I've been doing this forever. Like, I'll tell you if you're hurting me. I'll tap, right? And plus big guys smash me and I'm not tapping. So I don't think that this new woman is going to smash me. So anyways, there's this element of that. But then once we're experienced, there's an element of like when a woman's training with another woman, I almost think that they're more aggressive because most of my injuries have happened training with women. My ankle was broken by a woman. I've had many a knee sprain from training with a woman and just an awkward thing happening. My kidney was crushed by a woman. Like all that happened.
They pour it all on.
They pour it all on, especially if they're competitive. So, you know, it's just like men, I'm sure. And I will never claim to sit here and understand men. But I think I understand women a little more just being one. Not that I understand every woman, but in general, I can talk about knowing what it's like to be a woman. So yeah, it's it's varied depending on the woman. And some women will be a lot more soft about their jiu-jitsu. I would be less worried about getting injured training with them because they're not just going to try to smash me a lot of times, unless again, it's a competitive female. Then I have to worry a little bit more about my joints or that they're going to just like kick the crap out of me or something.
And I know